Manaswini, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
I am good. So, are you planning any future endeavors in order to have your resurrected CV, a better CV?
Yes, sir. The company that I had told you about, they called me back asking if I wanted to do an internship, and they said that now it'll be flexi time, so it won't, clash with college,
Hmm.
and that if I wanted, then I could just send them an email. So I will be doing that soon, and I found another internship as well. So both are online. So I'll be finishing.
Call me after this class, na? Call me when you were free, okay? Anytime during the day.
Okay, sure.
Good morning, Ishita. Good morning, Namrita. A very good morning to all. So, in continuation to the last class, we have discussed overall. Let others join. There are only 3 students. Let others join. Okay, many of you people are there. So last time what we have discussed, we were talking about the mushroom biology and biotechnology. Broadly, these two terms, they are more or less similar because the mushroom biology deals with working upon the mushrooms and biotechnology is what can be derived out of the mushrooms. See, in the last class, I have talked about that there is a situation in India. I mean, if we talk about our nation only, which is in a developing phase, we see the pitterness of the ever growing population, which is increasing in number. It's expanding like anything. And the quality of life, as well as the other factors that govern that quality, are getting reduced day by day. So that numbers need to be taken care of. What if we talked about in this course organic composting and mushroom cultivation? I think this course name, it should be changed to application of life sciences. I mean, we just talked about the compost, we talked about the vermicompost, how we can have the worms, and then we are talking about the potential out of the compost in order to have the food ready for the humans, a good quality food for the humans, which can be consumed, which does not fit into being a non-vegetarian food. I mean, people, those who have perception in countries and more being superstitious in countries like India. So it turns out to be a really very good potential in order to have the good quality food, in order to have the compost ready over the period of time, and reducing the pollution. I mean, having bioremediation. So all these factors, they really make mushroom cultivation as a good choice. So I would broadly say this subject as the application potential of the life sciences subjects that you have been teaching. So we know that, okay, the food that we are already being feeding upon, there are some components which actually are missing in our daily diet. We know it. I mean, sometimes we do need to have vitamins, supplements from outside, sometimes amino acids. I mean, there are so many products of different companies available in the market that, okay, for your daily needs, you need to have this, you need to have this. There is a MV tablet that comes by the name of daily. I mean, just a nutritional supplement. What is there? What is the need? If you can have the food. So if you consider the 3 problems, I mean, that are faced by our nation as the low quality food that is there. I mean, we do need to have the multivitamins or nutraceuticals in order to compensate that loss in the food. Second is the growing population, and third is the pollution. And mushrooms here, they provide a high quality, cheap, cheap, I won't say, but a high quality uh, मतलब cheap quality में नहीं बोलूंगा, लेकिन in amount, in money terms, it's very easy to grow it, and it does not is not very expensive. And the provision to have providing a better nutraceutical, a better pharma products as well in its in mushroom itself, and the bioremediation process in which the mushrooms, they help in reducing the pollution. So all these, they actually make it a very good product. I mean, having mushrooms as a nutritious products that can act upon. I mean, there are fungi के जो भी उसमें जो enzymes होते हैं that can actually degrade lignin, and the quality product that it produce can be used by the humans for their consumption as a food supplement, as a medicinal supplement as well. Not a supplement, but a medicinal properties as well. But then is it is environment friendly. I mean, the products that you use in order to have its growth, they are totally friendly material. And just see the byproducts. I mean, once you have taken the mushroom out of that product, जो भी उसका बाय प्रोडक्ट रह जाएगा, जो रिमेनिंग प्रोडक्ट है, कैन बी यूज, कैन बी फीडेड टू द एनिमल्स, बैक टू एनिमल्स. I mean, वो mycelium rich tissue होगा, which can be fed by the worms in order to have their food. So just look, I mean, it completes the cycle throughout in order to have the food, a good quality food. It feeds the population, and it even helps in reducing the pollution. That is why in countries like India, the mushroom cultivation needs to be grown up. I mean, it needs to come up. And that is why there have been number of unions all over the world that actually are working on mushroom biology, that include the mushroom genetic improvement through different biological tools. I mean, biotechnological intervention has been there in improving the quality of the mushrooms. Number two is ecologically identifying the important mushrooms. Important means which can be feeded over. I have told you in the last time also that more than 90% of species, they are not edible. And then you have three kind of mushrooms. I shared the slides. Let me put the slides again to you people. So it just shows a very simple two pictures they are there that shows that there are cultivated edible mushrooms that are there, and then there are mushrooms that have medicinal mushrooms. I mean, this can be related. So it shows arrow on the both ways that the cultivated edible mushrooms can have the medicinal properties, and sometimes medicinal mushrooms, they can be edible. But then there are wild mushrooms. You can have, I mean, wild mushrooms accumulate a large number of the mushrooms that may or may not be edible mushroom and may or may not be medicinal mushroom. तो उस बारे में जानना बहुत जरूरी था. I mean, it need to be worked out that the mushroom farming that need to be practiced should be of the edible mushroom only, and there should not be any harm in the long over the period consumption of these mushrooms. I mean, there can be anything, any chemical, any metal, anything, any protein which may harm the human health has not been found as such as of now in edible mushrooms. So what actually the mushrooms are? Mushrooms are nothing. They are the fruiting bodies, and they get originated out of the fungal spores. They produce a fruiting body without any leaves. They do not have the ability to convert the light into the chemical energy. So they actually grow by feeding. I mean, as the fungus it grows. तो fungus के grow करने में होता क्या है? Fungus एक अपनी body बनाता है. That is the, just a second please. So fungus, it grows by making a root-like structures which are known as mycelium. They grow in hyphae. Mycelium एक structure बनता है. I mean, if it's there in the, just see the just below at the image of the fungus, this mushroom, it shows the mycelium that actually spread like, I mean, nerves-like structures. They are spreading over the surface. And what they do, wherever the mushroom is growing, be it be on the pine leaf, be it be on the tree, maybe on any other dark wood forest, soil, anywhere. So it's growing over there, and this mycelium, it spreads itself inside the soil. So it's more of a growing on the surface of the soil as well as below the soil. So when it spread its roots, kind of roots, not the true roots, it's not a true plant actually, and it does not have any true roots. So when यहाँ से ले लो. So when it spreads, I mean, it tends to absorb the nutrients from the surface, from the mycelium surface. माइसीलिया के ऊपर से ही वो न्यूट्रिएंट्स को एब्जॉर्ब करता है. एक्टिविटी क्या होती है? फंगस की बायोलॉजी की अगर बात करें, इफ वी टॉक अबाउट, आई मीन, मोर देन 50,000 स्पीशीज, they have been known to been associated with the disease causing fungus. उनकी एक्टिविटी क्या होती है? They tend to release some enzymes into the plants. They tend to release some enzymes, and those enzymes, they create sores मैं कहूंगा यहाँ पे word that actually deteriorate the tissue. They feed upon it in order to consume the nutrients out of those plants. So that is in similar way the mushroom, it does the work. So wherever it is growing, it does the work by spreading its roots, and it sucks the nutrients from its surface where it gets accumulated, and the fruiting body it grows. So that is actually the biology of the mushroom. Edible mushroom, they have been growing so well, they actually get divided into this picture. If you can see, they form the fruiting body at the top, which is known as cap. It has the scales on its surface and gills just below the surface. So these gills, its name is given from where the spores, the fungal spores, they shed. तो फंगस की ये बहुत अच्छी प्रॉपर्टी है कि कैप के नीचे it actually provides the a kind of a protection to the spores. Spores, they fall on the ground and they are spreaded by number of ways. फंगस में spores बहुत तरीके से spread होते हैं. Air है, water है, wind है. I mean, there are number of ways by which they can spread from one way to another, and they get spreaded homogeneously. So these gills, they actually provide a protection cover to the spores, and then they fall down on the ground and they grow into other fungal species. And then fungus has the ability to grow asexually as well as sexually. We'll be going into more detail about it, that how it grows in order to have its production. Then there is a stalk at the base of the fruiting body. There is a stalk that actually grows into that part from where the fungus actually sucks up the nutrients from its basal mycelial part. So that body is sometimes not deemed feasible in order to have been consumed. That is why the caps are only removed out of that part. But sometimes those bodies, they can come along in order to, I mean, they are the edible part. They form the edible part. So mushrooms are nothing but a macro fungi because they grow very large in size, and they have the ability to, why to grow in a very large size, because जिस एक्टिविटी से वो फैलते हैं and the way they actually extract the nutrients is very advanced. I mean, it's not normal to what the fungus is growing on plants as pathogens. No, not at all. They do not have any leaves, they do not have any green structures in their overall growth, and they do not have the ability to form food from the light. So they cannot perform photosynthesis. But they secrete some compounds that can act upon cellulose, they can act upon lignin in order to degrade it, in order to, again, to obtain those good things in more simpler forms. That is why fungus is very good in number of chemicals, number of vitamins, number of amino acids. I mean, it contains all the 9 amino acids that are required, that are essential for the human diet. It contains all of them. So see how good it is. They actually contain the fungal cells. When they, I've told you that they have the fusion, that is the normal biology of the fungus. They fuse together. When they fuse together, so it's only that they actually fuse together in order to have the process of the cytogamy. Then the nucleogamy or the karyogamy, where the nucleus they fuse together and then they produce the fruiting bodies. I mean, then the spores they grow up and called basidia. So it's more of the basidiocarp. So मशरूम कल्टीवेशन ओवरऑल अगर इसके एडवांटेजेस को ऑब्जर्व करा जाए, it grows totally out of the waste material. Any material that are burned by the farmers, you must have seen the petty situation where the pollution, it grows, air pollution, that remains of the agriculture part can be utilized in order to grow mushrooms. I mean, see, again, out of the waste that is used, that is burned, and it causes air pollution, can be utilized in order to have food for humans. I mean, see how beauty is. And the bioconversion process, I mean, just having the fungal spores growing on that food material actually reduces the environmental pollution. Then, being a labor intensive activity, I mean, continuously, you actually had to be involved into it. You need to look into the feeding substrate. The food that is fed to the mushrooms is called as substrate. That needs to be taken care of. How you actually need to work upon it, that needs to be taken care of. And because being involvement of labor in its activity, it actually creates. Just hold on. Yes. Sorry. Can you just wait? Maybe you can just wait outside. I'll just let you know. I'm having class right now. Then the need for the having employment is actually it creates the possibility of having employability. So it actually increases the strata, the economic strata of the country. Then again, it actually the resources that we have out of the food, the fruit that we have, mushrooms, they actually improve um, the nutritional content, the quality of the food that we feed upon. So that is again very good component. That is again very good part. So it actually boosts up immune system. It boosts up human health. So actually improving the quality of life. And then mushroom cultivation is a cash crop. You had the crop, just extract it, sell it in the market. So you have cash directly out of the production. And it's a short return agriculture business, but it's a business. So it increases the option for having entrepreneurship all everywhere where the economic strata needs to be improved. So working on improve is actually more of the science rather than an art, because in compost आ रहा है कुछ भी डाल रहे हैं, pH मेंटेन करा, बाकी चीजें मेंटेन करी, ग्रो हो रहा है, ठीक है. In mushroom it cannot be done like that. Proper care needs to be taken of the pH, proper care needs to be taken of the content that we are actually using in order to have the mushroom production. If any changes are there in the pH and the water content, anything, it works to some extent. It works in case if we are having compost, active compost, but it doesn't work if we want to have mushroom production, because the predators, the other microorganisms may come up and they may not allow the fungal spores to germinate. So that is the problem with the mushroom production. However, over the period of years, इसकी साइंस इतनी ज़्यादा इम्प्रूव हो चुकी है that entire thing about the mushroom production has been worked out. Starting from the species that you need to grow, the substrate that you need to have, the quality of the material that you need to feed upon for the mushrooms, the temperature, the water requirement, the conditions, the climatic conditions, everything has been worked out very well. That is why it's being turning out to be have a great business potential. So then there are mushrooms and mushroom biology. Humans, they still face and will continue to face these three basic problems. That is the shortage of the food, the pollution that is growing like anything, and the quality of the human health with the growing population needs to be feeded upon. So that is why it's being said that by 2050, the things they'll become really very difficult in order to feed the human population. But what if you have a good quality food at a minimal price that will also help reduce the pollution and will improve the quality of the food as well, and improve the health status of the humans, all comes in mushroom. So that is what it needs to be have. Mushrooms, they actually मैंने बताया था कि वो बेसिडियो कार्प्स हैं. मशरूम इज मैक्रो फंगस दैट ग्रोज इनटू अ फ्रूटिंग बॉडी, बट कॉलिंग इट जस्ट एग्जैक्टली अ फंगस, उसके लिए एक अलग से माइसेटिए एक किंगडम बना दिया गया था. माइसेटिए जस्ट टू हैव, बिकॉज okay, though they have the similar properties, they grow exactly like fungus, they come under the umbrella of fungus, but they have many different properties. They have many different properties from the fungus. So that is why just saying them broadly as a fungus, that is why they've been called as macrofungus rather to be called as fungus only. So they have a distinct fruiting body and they are large enough. That is not normally in case of any other fungus. They are large enough and can be plucked by hand. So the most common type of mushrooms that is growing is the petunia type, the volvarella, and एक और था नाम, which is a very common name for this. agaricus, biosporus. So they all are serving as a very good food mushroom that can be grown. Okay. If we talk about the remains of the material that need to be feeded upon in order to have the mushroom, the dried material, the dried leaves and many other products, because mushrooms, they have the ability to feed upon the dried leaves and they grow very well over that. And apart from it, then they feed on the manures, the remains of the farms and straws, paddy remains. So they actually can be the byproducts from the industry, from the cane industry, from household, from agriculture. So all those byproducts that are thrown away by the industries, they can be utilized in order to have the mushroom production and mushroom cultivation. Just a second, Uddam. हाँ जी हाँ then then there comes that how the mushroom varieties, they need to be worked upon. Before working upon them, how they need to be located. I mean to say that fungus मशरूम जो है ये बहुत पुराने टाइम से नोन है, has been there in the folklores of Ayurveda, and how it has been worked upon. It in 1800s it was there in by Linnaeus, जो उसकी किताब थी उसमें मशरूम्स के बारे में बात करी गई थी. But hunting or location of the mushroom based upon the geological surveys and having a very proper good knowledge of the mushroom. मतलब मशरूम में ब्रॉडली दो टर्म यूज करी जाती हैं. एक को बोला जाता है कि इट इज एडिबल मशरूम, अनदर इज बीइंग कॉल्ड एज अ टोड स्टूल. Toad stool, I mean, which cannot be feed upon, so it's totally waste, cannot be feeded upon. But now with the improvement of tools and technologies, the biotechnological intervention, they are totally being worked upon in order to see if they can be consumed, if they can be utilized in any other way, in having the nutraceutical property, in having the medicinal property. तो वो चीज आनी बहुत जरूरी है. Apart from it, the geological surveys from where they ever they are growing, the surveys that need to be conducted is that okay, you need to know. I mean, now it's location specific. Tamil Nadu में okay इस तरह की mushrooms वहाँ पे grow करती हैं. We need to take proper care in order to extract those mushrooms, so that because now it's coming in the market, it's being consumed as a food, but people who are not aware of it may feed upon it, which can be a poisonous fungus. That is why the controlled cultivation rather than having the wild fruiting bodies is very important. If we ecologically, if we classify the mushrooms, they have been very broadly classified into saprophytes, the broad term which has been used for the fungal species, the saprophyte which feeds upon the dead remains or the remains. Then there are some parasitic mushrooms, very few of them, which have the ability to attack, to feed upon. That is, they are more closely resembled to the fungal species. That is why they've been called as macrofungi. Otherwise, they are nothing but a fruiting body. And sometimes they have a symbiotic association as well. That is very important. Bioremediation, the later stages में आके जिसकी हम बात करेंगे, that how it improves the soil strata. So that symbiotic association has been serving very good factor. So in broadly, the saprophytic fungi, the parasitic fungi, and the fungi that have the symbiotic association, there are broadly three ecological classification of mushrooms. So saprophyte, they obtained the nutrients from the dead organic remains, and parasites they obtained by living on other plants. So they have been there. Pinus trees के ऊपर, pinus leaves के ऊपर इनकी clearly growth होती है, and they cause harm to the host. I mean, it is known, but there are very few of them. And then there are microhyza that live in close relationship, and they form a very vital association which should not be removed, because just to I mean, not need to disturb the ecology of the product. So if we broadly see that how the applied mushroom biology has been worked in the context, to see that how it can be worked upon, the concept of mushroom biology needs to be understood. It's the science that works on the fungus as mycology, but mushroom has developed its own biology that is called as mushroom biology. So mushroom biology is the term that deals with studying the mushrooms, obtaining any activities, have the scientific and the applied mushroom biological potential. Applied में बहुत broadly यहाँ पे अगर आप graph देख रहे हो तो it shows that what actually we can obtain out of the mushrooms. So there are, again, if we broadly see that the components that I've been talking about of the mushrooms are totally have been shown here. So this applied mushroom biology is the very broad term that has been used for understanding the mushroom science. साइंस समझ ली इसलिए जरूरी है क्योंकि मैंने बताया था रेदर देन बीइंग अ पार्ट ऑफ एन आर्ट टू ग्रो एनीथिंग इट मोर इंक्लूड्स साइंस बिकॉज यू आर एक्चुअली ग्रोइंग a culture. It's a culture basically, not a planting material that you can just put in the soil. It's actually the growth of the culture. तो कल्चर को अगर आप लैब में भी ग्रो करते हो, you actually provide them very good conditions. So that is the thing, that is the mushroom science which actually is being involved here. So that is one part of the applied mushroom biology. Out of the science, why applied term is being used here, that out of the science you can have the edible and non-edible mushroom types. And then comes the mushroom biotechnology. Biotechnology kya hai? It's actually the utilization of certain tools in order to improve the genetic improvement, ultimately to have the genetic improvement in any of the crop. So if you see mushroom as an edible component, as a food, you can obtain the nutraceuticals, any components that are active molecules, any active molecules that are serving as drugs. So they can be extracted out of it. So that is the component which actually has applied mushroom biology comes as mushroom biotechnology. And the third one is mushroom myco restoration. Myco is the fungal. Restoration means that you actually had remediation of anything. It can be remediation of the soil, it can be remediation of the biomass products, it can be the remediation of the waste products that are coming out of agriculture or all such industries. So that broadly includes all these terms that need to be worked upon in order to have the applied mushroom biology. So the science which just deals with the cultivation and production is termed as mushroom biology, and the science which deals in order to have the obtained products, the nutraceuticals or the drugs out of it, are termed as mushroom biotechnology. And anything that comes under bioremediation process, the benefit obtained out of mushrooms just by their production in improving the environmental conditions, environmental strata, environmental components are coming under the bioremediation technology. Therefore, the applied mushroom biology actually had the ability to tackle all the problems of the three problems that were cited, that were shortage of food, improving the quality of the life, and removing the pollution. So that is the quality that can be obtained out of it. Okay. Then we have, just a second, I'll see the syllabus. Mushroom and mushroom biology, applied mushroom biology, enhancing human health through mushroom derivatives. The discipline that is concerned with the improved quality of the human nutrient and the nutrition that can be obtained biotechnologically using some tools. So that actually arrived through the systematic investigation. Systematic investigation here means that mushrooms, they were worked upon in order to see what active molecules that they have. Just see, I mean, the benefit that can be obtained out of the mushrooms. मशरूम में फैट बहुत कम होता है, अनसैचुरेटेड फैटी एसिड्स उसमें होते हैं जो ह्यूमन हेल्थ के लिए नेसेसरी हैं, एंड दे आर गुड रेदर देन सैचुरेटेड फैटी एसिड्स. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट, they do not induce to have, the edible mushroom do not induce to have any toxic effect. Then they actually are rich in moisture. They actually improve the they have rich water content. So more than 60-70% is water, is that is not in the dried mushroom but the fresh mushrooms they have. And then multivitamins, niacin, many other vitamins, vitamin B complex, many other vitamins, they are enriched in mushroom. any inorganic phosphates, calcium, magnesium, salts, they all are there. So it has been seen, as last time I've told you, that mushroom, it has been used, that was given in to AIDS patient, one of the clinical trial that was done in Africa, consistently improved the living quality, the blood parameters, and the immune system of the AIDS patient. So बहुत ज़्यादा nutritional value है जो इससे obtain करी जा सकती है, and it has been said that the mushroom protein content is not very much equivalent to what is there in animal meat, but is much more that is present in other foods that include milk as well. Animal products में, animal meat में तो ना सही, लेकिन animal products से बहुत ज़्यादा है इसमें protein content, phosphorus, iron, vitamins, calcium, carbohydrate, and then anybody wants to say something? Rupal?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. No, sir.
Fine, got it. And then the medicinal values of mushrooms, I have been saying that they have ability, they have those properties to serve as anti-cancerous, anti-tumorous, immunomodulatory, boosting up the immune system, many other effects in the human health in a positive way. They can be utilized to have an effective potential as the medicinal values. And then any nutraceuticals, जब बताई दिया कि nutrient quality इतनी अच्छी है that it can be utilized as a dietary supplement and not as a food, has all those therapeutic applications out of the mushrooms. Okay, next is, I hope the picture is getting clear to you people. कि mushroom enhancing human health through mushroom derivatives में क्या है?
Yes,
Guys,
sir.
Sir, but
Yes, sir.
nutraceuticals mean like the nutritional supplements?
sorry?
What exactly are nutraceuticals? Are they like the nutritional supplements?
Exactly. The nutritional supplements. I mean, the derivatives. Derivatives means that can be derived out of natural products, but they have been derived. They have been chemical derivatives, and can be utilized in order to enhance the nutritional quality. That are nutraceuticals. They are basically chemicals improving the nutrient component. Manaswini.
Okay, sir, thank you.
Okay. Then one of the most good opportunity of having the mushroom cultivation is the bioremediation. मैंने बताया था कि उसका mycelia जो grow करता है, when the mushrooms has been chopped off, when they have been extracted, the mycelia it grows and is rich in organic matter that can directly be feeded, because it's an edible one, can be feeded to the animals directly. So it actually converts the highly inorganic forms, the organic matter into a simpler forms that can directly be utilized. Second, because it's a form of the compost that is being used, it's totally the waste material that is being used to have the mushroom production. It will help in the reduction of pollutants, and because waste, you are doing actually zero waste management. And third is the bioremediation. It actually improves the soil strata, because that compost can actually be fed, can be spreaded on the soil in order to improve its strata. So that won't help to have the spores, fungal spores, because it's totally mycelium, dead mycelium that was being utilized. But the overall improvement in the soil nutritional component would be enhanced. So that is myco restoration kind of a thing, that it improves the soil strata. So, okay, then there is that how the mushroom has been worked upon over the years in order to have its improvement. So I have told you that mushroom, it's already been there in the folklores, and over the period of time, many mushroom varieties, they have been worked upon. But now with the technological interventions, technology बहुत advanced हो चुकी है. The genetic components, they have been worked upon in mushrooms in order to see that being just a fungal species, fungus मशरूम्स के लिए ही नहीं, फंगस ओवरऑल अपने उसमें बहुत ज्यादा ग्रो करी है, बिकॉज being the simplest eukaryotic system, they have been served as a good lab host. They have been utilized as a good lab system in order to see how the eukaryotic mechanisms they work. So that is why the mushroom biology has been worked upon to a great extent, because labs, they have been working upon fungus since a very long time. Just remove the poisonous part of the fungal species, any other biological byproducts, anything that is coming out, they all have been worked upon mushrooms. And now there have been so many labs that have been developed that are only working on mushrooms because they have been serving as a very purposeful product in almost all the ways in order to have the nutraceuticals being a pharma product, being having medicines out of it, or being as a food. So it has tremendous industry potential. That is why it has been worked upon. So there are solely institutes that have been working upon the mushroom genetics and how they need to be breeded upon. So that is why it's been said that, okay, the fungus, it fuses, it may be a sexual fusion or asexual fusion. If asexual, not a fusion, but if it's growing asexually by budding or by anything else, it's growing asexually. There is no fusion that is happening. Fungus, जो mushroom grow करता है, एक होता है. I mean, that is a clear difference that has been laid down. And if it has been sexually being fused, so there are number of mushrooms that are coming out of the single mycelial structures. So that is the basic difference, and that has been understood at the genetic level, at the molecular level, the fungal components, fungal this mushroom biology, how it works in order to have its fruit, in order to have its body structures, what enzymes it's actually is being used upon in order to have those enzymes. Do they have benefits in humans? All have been worked upon. So we'll be talking about them, that how they have been worked upon. Then a very simple component in sexuality. If we talk about that, how the mushrooms they grow, I have told you fungus का एक ही life cycle होता है. The fungus कैरियोगेमी होती है जब फ्यूज कर जाते हैं न्यूक्लियस. आफ्टर दैट देयर इज मियोसिस. मियोसिस में टेट्राड्स बनते हैं, उनकी बॉडीज बनती हैं. दैट एक्चुअली 4 टेट्राड्स आर फॉर्म that actually grow into separate fungal species. So that is how the fungus it replicates from one body to another. So that is the mating pattern in fungus. So that is the property of the not Ascomycetes, Basidiomycetes, in order to have those self-sterilization or having co-sterilization with others, fertilization kind of a process. I'll stop here. We'll talk about more about the fungus biology in the next class. So, okay, we have talked about, in order to understand what the mushroom is, what actually is involved in mushroom biology, what are the advantages of having mushrooms, how it has been used in order to have a consistent improvement in all the biological sectors, having consistent increase in the nutritional content, feeding the population, and then bioremediation. Then what are the ecological types of mushrooms, if they have to been broadly classified, the saprophyte, the parasitic, and the non-edible one, the wild one. And then broadly what types of mushrooms they are there. One that have medicinal values, one are totally wild species, and third the edible one. So they have been talked about. So next we'll talk about, then we'll talk about what are the principles of mushroom cultivation and production in the next class. So guys, I'll stop here. Would like to ask from you any questions. They are most welcome. Please come out with your questions. Hello. Am I audible, guys?
Sir, I have a
Yes.
question.
Shakti, okay, come. Yes.
Sir, I think it was Manaswini.
But you raised your hand. Manaswini,
sir.
okay?
Yes, sir. So my question was that so you know how you mentioned basidiomycetes have both self and co-fertilization, right? So is there like is one process preferred over the other?
It depends from fungal species to species. Some
Okay.
fungus, the more of the pathogenic fungus, they have the perception to grow from the spores without germination. Germination here in fungus has been very, very much being worked upon. In fungus, germination means that when the fungus spores they germinate, I mean in a subtle environment, when they germinate, there are the series of process that goes inside. The thing that I've been talking about is more of the pathogenic fungus, But any other fungus that is growing abruptly, I mean in nature, in plants, that is not having the pathogenic component in it, has more tendency to form the sexual root. So it depends from fungal species to species, Manaswini.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Shakti?
Yes, sir. So, sir, suppose we came across a mushroom, and like, how do people they define that it is an edible or poisonous mushroom just by looking at its component, or do we also need to test it?
Yeah, now the things, okay, this is a very good question, has not been put forwarded by me, but Shakti, the thing is that actually there earlier times fungus was not been directly being feeded upon until and unless it was considered as a poisonous food. I don't know, maybe some accidents could have happened, but it was considered as poisonous food. How it came into the limelight, there were certain structural features that were looked into by the botanists or the mycologists basically, that actually worked upon, but things still goes awry at that time. Now the situation has entirely changed. Now the thing is that these fungal species, these mushrooms, they have been worked upon. Now there are molecular markers that have been developed that will actually classify that if any edible fungus is there, would have the similar profile, a similar one, maybe not exactly the same one, but a similar one. So that turned out to be an edible mushroom. So that needs to be very well taken care of. Second, there are certain enzymes that serves as toxins because fungus, they have the tendency to release toxins. Plant में फंगस करते क्या हैं, ह्यूमंस में फंगस जो पैथोलॉजिकल फंगस है वो करते क्या हैं, बेसिकली दे रिलीज दोज एंजाइम्स इन ऑर्डर टू have those sores on the human body or the plant, and then they move inside, spread their mycelia hyphae in order to grow inside the body. But now these things, they have already been worked upon, that what enzymes an edible fungus can have and what enzymes does a non-edible or a wild fungus will have. So can it be deemed fit for human consumption? Now they have those microsporal tests. We call it microsporal test. They examine it by the microscopy test. They examine it by a biochemical investigation in order to assess the enzymes. And now they have advanced molecular methods also to exactly go into whether this fungal variety can be feeded upon or not. Broadly, if I would say, Shakti, there are more than 18,000 species of these mushrooms, and many few of them, maybe thousands of them, that have been declared as to be an edible one. So just see the number. So that is why it's being said that more than 90,000 species they cannot be feeded upon. And फिर उसके बाद बहुत सारी ऐसी प्रॉपर्टीज देखी जाती हैं कि अगर वो फंगस एडिबल भी है, उसमें ऐसी क्या प्रॉपर्टीज हैं, डज इट मोर हैव द न्यूट्रिशनल वैल्यू, डज इट मोर हैव अ मेडिसिनल वैल्यू, कैन इट बी यूटिलाइज्ड एज अ फूड, उसमें कुछ और ऐसी चीजें तो नहीं है जो स्पेरिंगली फूड को खराब करें, विच कैनॉट बी यूटिलाइज्ड, विच कैनॉट बी कंज्यूम्ड एज अ फूड. मे बी इट्स टेस्ट और मे बी इट्स एरोमा. सो बहुत कम स्पीशीज हैं, 28-30 species which actually have been declared to be utilized as food. So Shakti, that is an answer to your question.
Thank you, sir. Also, sir, when we talk about mushroom biotechnology, and if we are changing the genetic constitution, and do the methods remain same, like you said, of testing it, or do we use some other methods?
Be it be anything, the methods, they will always remain same. Either you can change for molecular biology, be it be a PCR, you can change the primers. Be it be RFLP, you can change the random fragment length polymorphism, you can change the universal primers that will be utilized. For RAPD, you can change, RFLP, you can change the enzymes that need to be used upon. So that remains a standard. And all the other, what was your question, Shakti? There was
Sir,
one point which I need to. Yes,
yes,
yes.
sir. So if we are like changing the genetic constitution, like little bit in our
Yes, yes.
yes.
So that has not been worked upon. Otherwise, it would be termed as a genetically modified one. So fungal species, be it be genetically modified, we cannot have the change in the genetic content until and unless coming out of the lab. But if worked upon in through breeding, natural breeding, uh, having karyogamy, artificial karyogamy, then obviously you can have it. but test will remain same. Shakti.
Thank you, sir.
Ishita.
Sir, as we all know that mushrooms are edible plant. Sir, except edibility, is there any other purpose to cultivate mushrooms?
There is any other purpose to
Cultivate mushrooms.
cultivate mushrooms? Obviously, it's there. I've told you broadly, nutraceutical or the pharmaceutical qualities of the mushrooms can be utilized. They can be utilized. मैंने बताया अभी कि if we talk about the edibility, that means that directly it can serve as being utilized as a food. If not, ऐसा नहीं है कि उसमें से अगर एरोमा अच्छा नहीं है, it cannot be utilized in any other way. So those medicinal properties and nutraceuticals, they actually can be utilized in order to have. And then there are properties that serve anything to be used as food product, because ultimately then you will look at the mushroom, at the fungus, from the point of view how it grows, how well it expands, what is the number that would be coming out, what is the yield. आपने इतना सेटअप लगाया, पता लगा कि आपने 10 केजी कंपोस्ट यूज करी है या बाय प्रोडक्ट सबस्ट्रेट्स यूज करे हैं, लेकिन आपको आधा किलो ही मशरूम मिल रहा है, यू विल नॉट वर्क अपॉन इट, यू विल नॉट यूज इट. Sometimes it would say, okay, out of 10 kg of the compost that you have used, substrates, 5 kg fungus will, this mushroom will be coming out. Okay, I'll have it. That serves as a good agriculture purpose. So it's more out of the business point of view, not apart from having food, but there are many other. तो न्यूट्रास्यूटिकल और फार्मास्यूटिकल के लिए या मेडिसिनल वैल्यू के लिए तो अगर एक फंगस भी ग्रो कर रही है, कैन बी यूटिलाइज, इट कैन बी यूटिलाइज. आई मीन जस्ट सी, मैंने शायद पिछले बार आपको बोला था इशिता, दैट गुच्ची, गुच्छी जिसको बोलते हैं हिमाचल में जो ग्रो करती है. आई मीन यू जस्ट सी द इमेज what it, I'll just show you, just hold on a second. स्लाइड्स आप लोगों के साथ शेयर्ड हैं? नहीं है अभी ना? Okay, I'm sharing the slide now. Just see that how it actually looks. Is it visible to you all?
Yes, sir.
So that is what
Yes,
a
sir.
gucci looks like. That is what a gucci looks like. I mean, मैंने शायद पिछली बार 10,000 रुपये किलो बताया था, इसका रेट उससे भी बहुत ज़्यादा है per kg. So it's more like a mushroom body. It has a stalk, it has the base, but it grows like this. And this is more of the dried form. Is so rich in nutrients, is good in taste as well. लेकिन उसकी जो nutritional value है वो बहुत ही अच्छी है. Is really good. Ishita.
Oh, yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Fine.
Thanks.
So okay guys, anybody else for the question part? Anything? पिछली बार एक किसी का सवाल था कि if we want to grow mushroom at the backyard. No one is there. Okay, fine guys. We'll stop here. I just need to have your cameras turned on in order to take up the attendance. I'll speak out the names one by one. Ayushi, you just need to turn on your cameras, please. Ayushi. Thank you. Sam. अगला अगला नाम भाई लिस्ट से देख के ऑन करते जाएं. सैम. फाइन, थैंक यू सैम. सैम, you had got a nice background. Devanshi. Thank you, Devanshi. Ishita. Okay. Janvi. 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 Kshitij. Thank you, Kshitij. Manaswini? Okay. Namrata?
Present, sir.
Okay. Nandini? Nandini? Nehal, Rupal?
Present, sir.
Thank you.
Present, sir.
Sahiba? Sahiba? Sanjana? Shakti? Thank you, Sanjana.
Present, sir.
Thank you, Shakti. Thank you, Shivani. Then Tanvi?
Present, sir.
Okay. Tridev?
Present, sir.
Vivek? Thank you, Yukta.
Present.
Okay, Vivek. So I would speak out the names again which were left out. Sahiba, Yuvraj, last में युवराज रह गया. युवराज, Yuvraj, I can see your mic on. Okay, fine, that's done. Okay, Sahiba, और कौन था? नम्रता. नम्रता ने कैमरा ऑन कर दिया था. Okay, fine, guys. Thank you. I'll stop here. Try to develop those tendency to have more and more questions, because that will actually, just out of one question, maybe Manaswini asked, Eshita asked, Shakti asked some questions, and out of those questions we are coming to know any other thing that has not been described in the lecture. So it can be anything. It can be anything. It may be related to the subject, may not be related to the subject, but you will have the tendency to learn anything out of the way. Now it's your third year, and we need to work upon that. You need to look up the things from a different angle, from a different scenario, that okay, now you are actually coming into a more matured phase. Now your questions tends to be more mature. That needs to be worked upon. Try to have those skills. Definitely by the end of this course, we'll go for the presentation parts, and the last year presentations, now they need to be entirely different to what has been there in this year, because you are in your third year and your presentations need to be worked upon very well. We'll be sharing the topics with you people, but please work upon these presentations in a good way. Sam,
Yes, sir. It wasn't a
you
question.
have any question?
Just adding on to there is also use of psilocybin mushrooms in treating depression. Like WebMD में पढ़ा था, like it outperformed like the serotonin drugs जो होते हैं. To
Sam, just request you to speak bit loud so that
yes,
all they
now.
yes.
Yeah, so psilocybin mushrooms outperform the normal medication for depression, severe depression.
Okay, psilocybin. So it was able to replace the
Magic mushrooms. It replaced I forgot the medicine's name, but it's
the
still,
drug that is already available.
yeah.
Psilocybin. So Sam, that's a good point that has been put up. That psilocybin, it's a derivative or it's a mushroom only.
Psilocybin is present in some mushrooms, and it's
As a
actually,
component, is a derivative of mushroom that actually has the ability to replace the antidepressant drug that are already available in the market. So good point, Sam. But try to improve what more and more. Try to read, access those articles. Be prepared yourself. Do anything, whatever you want to. After your BSc, some of you will be looking up to have your business, to go into any other entrepreneurships, or many of you people will be going for your higher studies. So prepare yourself. That is now you need to work upon your base. So you need to have your studies well, but try to improve your CVs. Try to improve your. So thank you guys. We'll stop here.